The party that freed South Africa from apartheid has lost its 30-year majority in a landmark election. The African National Congress received just over 40% of the vote in South Africa and is now in talks to form a coalition.
Daryl Glazer is a professor of political studies at the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg. He joins us now. Thanks so much for your time, Professor. How significant is this result after 30 years in power for the ANC?
It's absolutely hugely significant. This is the first election since 1994, when we had our first inclusive election. It's the first time that the ANC has not had an absolute majority of the vote. And not only that, it's 10% below having 50%. So it's experienced an enormous drop-off of support. And, the political class here is in something of a state of shock about it. And perhaps even more so about the rise of a kind of an ethnically based regional party under the leadership of someone who is widely regarded as a corrupt former president of South Africa, Jacob Zuma. His party has achieved around 15% of the vote. So this is hugely momentous, also because we are now in an age of coalition politics in South Africa for the first time. The ANC is going to have to find a coalition partner, either to its populist left or to the center. Which kind of coalition partners the ANC chooses is going to have huge implications. And then only this evening, we've heard that a whole bunch of parties, including Jacob Zuma's party, are challenging the election results. We haven't had a situation before where there's been a serious challenge to election results in South Africa. There's generally, we've had peaceful transitions based on acceptance of results, and this time the competence and effectiveness of the Independent Electoral Commission has been called into question. So for all of these reasons, it's an exciting, dramatic and nerve-wracking moment in South Africa.
We'll get to the coalition talks in a moment, but why have voters turned their backs on the ANC? What were the policies, the main issues that helped determine people's votes this election?
Well, in every province of South Africa, the ANC has lost some support, in some cases considerable support, which suggests that there is dissatisfaction with the ANC's record, that its record has finally caught up with it. South Africa has experienced shortages of electricity, it's experienced outages of water supply in many cases. The economy has been stagnating. We're not really getting on top of our huge problem of unemployment. So there are a whole range of factors. South Africa was also particularly badly hit, as were many other countries, by the COVID pandemic. But this came on President Ramaphosa's watch. South Africa's not fully recovered from that. We also had massive riots in 2021, which damaged a large part of the economy of one entire province and part of also the main urban hub. So the situation in South Africa has been difficult. There's been a lot of disappointment with President Ramaphosa's failure to live up to his promise. He's generally an affable and liked person, but he came to power promising to take decisive action against corruption and incompetence, and many people feel he's failed to deliver. But it has to be said that on top of this, and an even bigger factor than this, seems to be the expression of opposition from one particular province, KwaZulu-Natal, which is a mainly Zulu-speaking province. And strangely enough, what they are objecting to is not the fact that the ANC is corrupt or incompetent, but the fact that they evicted from office former President Jacob Zuma, who was widely perceived to be corrupt. And he was like, if you like, the homeboy of that province. He was seen, he was widely liked in that province. I think a large part of the ethnic Zulu population actually felt itself to have been humiliated by his eviction from power. So there was a huge defection of votes in this particular province, KwaZulu-Natal, from the ANC to Jacob Zuma's party. And this sort of ethnic politics is also quite new in South Africa.
So this is now where the real politicking begins, with all the talks around the coalition. What will those talks look like, and what do you expect to be the outcome of them?
Well, the talks are going to be interesting. Even assuming that we get through tomorrow's announcement of the vote results without any serious unrest or further threats from losing parties, yes, there will have to be 2 weeks before we elect a president of negotiation between various parties. And it's made more difficult by the fact that, parties have largely been trashing each other until now and have been suggesting that the other parties are all completely terrible, and now they're going to have to form coalitions. We've seen this to some extent already at a local and regional level, and now it's going to have to happen at a national level. The ANC is used to governing on its own at a national level, and now it's not going to be able to. I think it's got two basic options. It can form a coalition to the left, or if you like, to the kind of African nationalist left, with parties like the Economic Freedom Fighters, or it can form a more kind of centrist coalition with the Democratic Alliance. And which of those coalitions are formed, that decision is going to have massive implications for South Africa.
All right, Professor Darryl Glaser, we really appreciate you coming on this morning. Thanks so much.
It's a great pleasure.